Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Making Business Personal. I'm Jason Weiss. Well, here we are. This is the final show of the first year, and I can't believe it. I cannot believe how fast that this year has gone by. And this is episode 51. I almost got an episode per week, almost got to 52. But sometimes you can't get them all done. But 51's not bad. And this is a great episode. It's about what success has asked of you. But before we get to that, let's just review what we've done over these past few months. We've had episodes about communication, leadership, AI, how teams copy your worst habits before your best ones, how the leaders you choose to follow sometimes matters more than anything else. We've covered what it means to be clear without being cruel, how to build trust in 5 seconds, why skills are replaceable, but individuals aren't. But for this episode, I want to slow things down a bit. I mean, not in like a let's wrap it up in a nice, neat bow kind of way, but more of a, well, let's tell the truth kind of way. I mean, not that I don't usually tell the truth, but I mean, you know how that goes. Because we can talk all we want about how we lead others, but before this year ends, I think you all need to ask yourself a much harder question. The success that you achieved this year, what did it ask of you? And I'm not asking you what you accomplished because you already know that. You've probably rehearsed a dozen times for holiday parties or, the year-end review. What'd you do this year? And you've got that laid out. But what I'm really asking is what did that success cost you? The quiet things, the things that didn't feel dramatic in the moment, they felt necessary because we tend to talk about success like it's a reward, like it's something that you earned and then you get to enjoy. But that's not really how it works. Success is more like a relationship, and every relationship has a cost. Now, sometimes that cost is time. And I don't mean just hours, but where those hours went. The dinner that you skipped because, I'm almost done. I'll be there in a minute. Or that weekend that just disappeared into emails or calls. And then there's that promise that you make to yourself, I'll shut this laptop right after this one last thing. But then sometimes it costs you energy. And it's not the kind that you notice right away. It's the kind where you're still getting everything done, but you're doing it on fumes. You're answering the questions, you're making the decisions, you're showing up, but there's just no margin left. It's like when you run background apps on your phone. Everything technically works, but that battery drains way too fast. Then there's presence. You're home, but you're not really there. You're listening, but half of you still solving a problem from earlier. You're nodding, you're smiling, but mentally you're 3 steps ahead. And nobody says anything about this, but everyone can feel it. Your fuse gets a little shorter. You're reacting a little faster than you used to. There's less space between stimulus and response. And it's not because you don't care. It's because you're carrying more than you realize. Health ends up getting negotiated instead of protected. Sleep becomes something that you bargain with. And workouts, well, they turn into, I'll get to that next week. And that's low-grade depletion that we normalize because, well, this is what winning looks like, right? Then there's the parts of you that you didn't even realize you were setting aside. Curiosity, creativity, playfulness, stillness, and not forever, just temporarily. Except temporary has this way of stretching. And none of this makes you wrong, but what it does is it makes you human. But here's the thing. When we don't name the cost, success has a way of taking more than we ever intended to give. And that's where burnout comes from. Burnout doesn't come from working hard or caring deeply. Burnout comes from repeatedly agreeing to do things that we never chose to do. because there's a huge difference between a cost you choose and a tax you don't realize you're paying. A chosen cost is clean. You know what you're giving up. You know why you're giving it up. But an unconscious tax, that just drains you over time. And if you can't name the cost of your success, there's a really strong chance that you're already paying too much for it. And I know this because I've paid too much for it. For years, I said yes to everything that looked like a good opportunity. Great clients, big projects, meaningful work. And I told myself, this is what it takes. I'll figure it out later. And I did figure it out. I got the results. I built the business. I've helped a lot of people, but I've also missed things I can't get back. I mean, moments with Everly when she was too small to crawl, moments when Grace needed me present, not just physically there, parts of myself that I set aside so frequently that I forgot they even existed. But the shift happened when I stopped pretending that those costs didn't exist, when I started assessing them instead of discovering them in hindsight. So let me make this concrete to you. As I look ahead to next year, I've got some big opportunities coming my way. Things that I would have normally have said yes to immediately, big clients, meaningful projects. But the problem is some of them have some strings attached. They require me to be away from home on Max's birthday and Grace's birthday. Then there's another one that would demand more energy than I'm honestly more comfortable or not really comfortable giving in the moment and later. Now, in the past, I would have said yes right away because, again, I would have said I'll figure it out later, or it's just this once, or I'll make it up somehow. But this is what it takes. This is the life we live. We got to accommodate it. But here's what's different now. I'm not pretending the cost doesn't exist. I'm actually assessing it. I'm talking about it. I'm communicating with the people it affects. So I'm making decisions based on what's best for everyone and not just my clients, not just my business, not just my ambition. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to say no to growth. What it means is I'm saying yes with clear consent. So before you rush into next year with goals and plans and those big intentions, I want you to try something. Pick one success from this year, just one, and ask yourself, what did this really require from me? What did I give up, even temporarily? What did it ask me to carry? Was it pressure, responsibility, or maybe it was just that version of yourself that had to stay on more than you expected? Now, you're not judging the outcome here. You're just making the exchange visible. Because when the cost stays invisible, it starts making decisions for you. So here's what I've started doing. Before I say yes to anything significant, I write down 3 things it'll cost me. Not might cost, will cost. And then I ask, am I willing to pay this price? Or am I hoping that it won't actually cost that much? See that second option, the hoping part? That's where we get into trouble. That's where the unconscious tax starts to add up. And this isn't just personal. Organizations pay costs too. I worked with a company last year that had an incredible fourth quarter, best numbers in their history, and everybody celebrated. But 6 months later, they're dealing with massive turnover. Key people are burning out. Projects succeeded, but they left people hollowed out. And nobody bothered to ask, what did that quarter actually cost us? Instead, they just celebrated the win and they asked, how do we do this again? I think healthy leaders, they don't just ask, how do we do more next year? Instead, they ask, what did this year quietly cost us, and are we willing to pay that price again? That question changes cultures. Because teams have energy budgets too. They have presence budgets. They have patience budgets. And when you blow through those budgets without acknowledging it, you're not building something sustainable. You're burning through people, and you're hoping that you can replace them before it becomes obvious. So here's where I'll land this. The goal isn't less ambition. It's not playing smaller, and it's not wanting less. What it is clearer consent. being honest about what you're willing to exchange, and just as honest about what you're no longer willing to lose by accident. Because success can still matter, results can still matter. I mean, growth still matters, but so does you. You matter. And the success that actually lasts, the kind that doesn't hollow you out, comes from knowing exactly what you're saying yes to and what you're not. That's the work. So, as the year ends, don't just count your wins. Count the cost too. And not to regret it. I mean, not to feel guilty about it, but to decide consciously and deliberately what you're willing to pay next year. Because success will always ask something of you. And the question is whether you get to choose what you give or if it just takes what it wants when you're not paying attention. Before I let you go, I want to share something that means the world to me. On Spotify, Making Business Personal was named a 2025 fan favorite. It was named a most talked about show and a most shared show. Now, the largest episode was episode 37 with celebrity chef Judy Jew. And if you haven't listened to that yet, go back and check it out. Judy's a gem. And I'm incredibly excited about who's joining us in January for season 2. We've got author and Harvard professor Margaret Andrews, who's going to talk about her new book. We've got peak performance coach Allison Tibbs, men's spirituality expert Jamie Wohlrob. We've got actor and transformational coach Brianna Brown Keene. And we've got country music singer Noel Toland, all in the can and ready to go. But more than any of that, I want to say thank you to all of you who listen to this, who share it, who leave reviews, who sent me messages. You who show up every week, you make this possible. And I can't wait to see what we build together in season 2. So from the bottom of my heart, have a happy new year. Be safe, be intentional, and remember, it's not business, it's personal. I'll see you in January. Bye for now.